Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to do short rows, the importance of short rows, and the way to properly do it. So short rows are something in order to create curvature in a work on knitting. In crochet, you can do single crochet, double crochet, and then go back down to single to create an arched piece, which will give curvature to your work. In knitting, we can't do that. We only have the knit stitch, which is one size. So I'm going to show you an example. This is one of my dragon patterns I'm working on. So it's very subtle here, but I actually added a short row right here, which you can see a little bit there, which instead of his neck being like this, it's slightly curved up. Now, that's not a very obvious one, so I'll show you a much more obvious one. So this is his leg. And you can see here that I knitted it this way, but we have all this curving going on. So you can see I knitted to here, and then I started doing short rows. So I was working back and forth and leaving these stitches on the needle. And then I would knit a row, and then I work a couple short rows, then I'd knit a row and work a couple short rows. So by doing that, it made the leg curve at the knee. And you can see it slightly curves here. And then I curve again here at the foot, where it attaches at the ankle. Now you can see where I've done this wrong. You can see I have little holes here, and if I get really close, I don't know if you can see, but there's little bands in it. So this was before I really knew how to do short rows. I just worked on this pattern a couple years ago. So I'm going to show you how to try to avoid this obvious stitch here and how to do short rows. So I'm working on a new pattern here, which I'll post in the link below. This is a hanging basket. I've seen a lot of them done in crochet, but none of them done in knitting. So what I'm doing here is I'm making my basket, and you can kind of see there already where it's curving. So it goes straight across, and then it curves up this way in order to give a little bit of a gap here to put stuff in. So you can see where it's starting to curve. So this is 60 stitches around. So I'm going to knit 15 regular stitches. So I'm at this point where I knit 15, and so in order to make my curvature, it's 60 total. So I did 15 this way, I'll do 15 at the end, but I'm going to work my short rows, which is going to be 30. So I'm going to work 30 this way, 30 backwards, and 30 again. So let me knit 30 and get to the point where I'm going to turn. Okay, so I'm at my 30 stitches. This is where I've done my short rows here. And if you look, it's really hard to tell where my previous wraps were. So let me show you the wrap and turn. So a lot of times they'll say yarn forward if you're knitting, slip one, yarn back, and turn. And this is also called wrap and turn. So some people will lay it out like that, and some people just say wrap and turn. When they're saying wrap and turn, that's what they mean. So your yarn's actually wrapping around this stitch, which holds the work together. So now that I'm turned, I'm going to slip that stitch back on. So it did not get knitted at all, just this yarn here. And I'm going to purl back 30. Okay, so now we're going to wrap and turn again, but from the purl side. So you're going to do just the opposite. So with knitting, we have the yarn here and we brought it to the front. With purl, we have our yarn in the front already, so we're going to bring it yarn back, slide one, yarn forward, and then turn your work. And then you're going to slide your stitch again. And then you can go back to knitting. So I'm going to show you, you see all this holes and messed up in that loop right there? This is the incorrect way to do it. So my other side that I showed you earlier was really nice and pretty, and you couldn't even see where the pickup stitch is. And then you have this really ugly side over here where I did a couple mess ups to show you what it looks like when you don't do it right. You have this really long stitch and these wraps here. So I'm going to go and knit 30 again. So I originally knit 30, purled back 30, and then I'm doing my knit 30 again too. And I will come back to where that wrap is. And I'll show you that. So we're going to go ahead and start knitting again. I'm going to knit 30. Okay, so I just knit my 30 stitches again. And now we're at our wrap, which you can see it right here wrapped around that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to lift that wrap up. So there's two ways to do it. You can slide your stitch back over, lift the stitch onto this needle, and then slide those back over. And then you can knit them together. If you look here, it just looks like a normal knit stitch again. Alright, so I'm going to attempt to bring that back over and undo what I just did. Which might make my stitches look a little messy, but... Alright, so we're back to how it was originally, with a little bit more stretch. So your loop there and there. So the kind of shortcut to do it, instead of slipping back and forth, is you can just put your needle under here, under your loop, and then tuck your loop in here. And then you can just go ahead and knit those two together. You got to be careful to make sure you pull that loop off though too. So you might want to grab it and you knit through this stitch and the loop. So that's kind of the quicker way to do it if you don't want to slip back and forth. Oh, look at my stitches end up coming back pretty tight again. So I'm going to knit one more just to kind of show you what it looks like. So see, you can't even tell that there was a slip stitch there. So it makes it a lot more seamless. Normally we would work back to our starter stitch, which is here. So then we'd be back at our normal row. And then 15 stitches down, we have our other wrap here. So make sure when you knit across, and a lot of people won't say this in their patterns. They won't talk about lifting the stitch. They'll just assume that you know what you're talking about. So when you come back through, make sure you also lift the stitch and knit it together again too. Because most people just say wrap and turn and they won't explain that you really should pick up the stitch. You don't have to, but it does make the work look so much smoother and you're not going to have all these holes and these obvious spots. So when you come back around through, make sure you pick up that second stitch again so that your work looks nice and neat and pretty. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's any other kind of techniques that you'd like to see, and I will try to help you out. Feel free to contact me. Information's down below. You guys have a great day.